Zen. So, hello. There are 20 people here. That's quite a lot for a stream for me. They are very nice headphones, which is why they should work. Just saying. My name is Rachel. I run Inside Archaeology. I am an archaeologist / ex-archaeologist. I don't work in archaeology anymore, but I have an undergraduate and a master's degree in archaeology, and then I worked both in Canada, in the UK, and the UK as an archaeologist for a few years. I now work in something very boring because, spoiler alert, archaeology doesn't make you a lot of money. Unless you're probably doing as well as Zahi Hawass, but there's not that many jobs doing what he does. I actually originally got into archaeology because I wanted to study ancient Egypt. I was fascinated with it. I loved it as a child. So I ended up going down a different path, but I do have a degree in Near Eastern and classical archaeology. So I did spend quite a lot of my classes and my time studying ancient Egypt. It's something that I'm personally interested in, so I do read about it and keep up with things that are going on. And I have been to Egypt as well. Whitney, you're fine. I was having tech issues. We haven't jumped into it yet. So, just to prep you all, I have never watched the Joe Rogan Experience before, actually. I, of course, know what it is, but it's just not something that's ever really garnered my interest. I know Flint debated Graham Hancock on it last year, and Graham Hancock and a lot of other kind of like fringe pseudo-archaeology people have been on the podcast, but actually conspiracy stuff isn't my bag most of the time. I tend to focus on, as pompous as this sounds, the real archaeology that's happening, that's going on, all the stuff that doesn't make it into the daily headline news, but is equally as important. And yeah, so I didn't watch the Flint Dibble and Graham Hancock debate because it was 4 hours long. So this is my first time watching the show. The last time I saw Joe Rogan on anything and watched it, it was Fear Factor, which probably dates me a little bit. So his guest today is Dr. Zahi Hawass, who is an Egyptian archaeologist / Egyptologist. He used to be the Minister of Tourism and Antiquities in Egypt, so that was the top job in antiquities. He does have qualifications in this subject. He has a PhD from the University of Pennsylvania in Egyptology, and he also worked for a long time as an inspector for the Egyptian ministry and rose through the ranks basically. He actually, one of the sites that he was the inspector for was Giza, so he spent a lot of time there before he became the Minister of Tourism and Antiquities. And he is known for a lot of different things. We're going to talk about that in a second. His kind of biggest contribution in a lot of ways is the fact that he has really pioneered reclaiming ancient Egypt for Egyptian archaeologists. So before Zahi Hawass, a lot of the archaeology in Egypt was being done by foreign missions, probably from Europe and other places. It wasn't something that was really being piloted and pioneered and led by Egyptian archaeologists. And he has really, really, really flipped that on his head. And he's, really cultivated and trained the next generation of archaeologists. He is 77. He's an older guy. And one thing you cannot accuse him of is not caring about ancient Egypt. This guy feels very, very passionately about it. You have probably seen him on TV because during his time as minister, basically anytime within the past 30 years or 25 years roughly, if there's a show on TV about Egyptian archaeology, he's probably on it, if not the key person that's leading it. He loves being in front of a camera. He's very telegenic. I actually saw a joke somewhere on Reddit that said the most dangerous place to be in Egypt was between Zahi Hawass and a camera, which I think is kind of true. He is no longer the Minister of Tourism and Antiquities in Egypt, although I would think he probably still holds quite a bit of sway there. He left the post in 2011, but he is still very active in archaeology. He publishes books, has a lecture tour. I suspect he's selling one of those two things on this show. He is polarizing. You either like him or you hate him. A lot of people in my comments have very low opinions of him. I know people who have met him. I've not met him myself, who say that they have had good interactions with him and they don't have anything negative to say. But he does have a reputation. He's kind of from that old guard of archaeologists that, you jump when I say jump. He can be very domineering. He's been accused of that. When he was the minister, it was kind of that thing where like what he said goes. And if you crossed him, it was effectively career suicide because he would make sure you didn't get permits to dig, museum access, or even going so far as to probably not even be able to get a visa. So he was the face of Egyptian archaeology for a long time, and I think it's important to acknowledge that. And he's still very much involved in it. But as perhaps is contrary to what he's going to say here, he is not the only Egyptian archaeologist. He's not the only Egyptologist. And while, he has some very strong opinions and he is a very popular representative, he is not the only person that does this. He does not represent all archaeology and all Egyptology. So yeah, we're going to leave it at that. People have their opinions on him. I have my personal opinions on him, but a lot of what things he's accused of is hearsay. No, none of it's been proven in court. So I don't really think it's fair to say, to get outside the archaeology when you're talking about him. But yeah, he's incredibly polarizing. He's a very strong personality, so to speak. The chat is just like popping off. Let's just look at this briefly before we start the episode. Amelia Peabody, weird accusation. Yeah, there's all these things. He has previously said some anti-Semitic things publicly, but he's also retracted it or tried to say, oh, that's not what I meant. And he is also, I read that he's was campaigning for the preservation of a Jewish synagogue in Cairo. There's political stuff around it, etc. We're just going to try and focus on the archaeology. Yeah. Okay. They revealed some of the limestones are made from geopolymer, reconstituted. Then I've seen him on the only seen. Yeah, he's known. I will say he likes to dress like he's Indiana Jones. He has definitely seen those movies and he likes it. He wears that hat for a reason. But I'm not hating on him for that because I have an Indiana Jones hat and I use the font in all of my stuff. So I'm really no better. Anyway, let's stop waffling and let's watch the episode.
You can talk as long as you want.
No, it's up to you to decide.
It's up to you. I'll talk to you forever. I have so many questions. I'm very excited to meet you.
Same.
I've seen you in documentaries for decades. So many documentaries. I've watched so many things about Egypt. I'm completely fascinated by it.
I will tell you something. Do you know this guy used to do a radio show late evening?
Art Bell?
Says so much about, again, the generation of archaeologists that he's from, that he's just sitting there with a cigar. It's hilarious.
The best. He was the best.
I need to say this on air.
Okay.
I need to say his story on air.
Okay.
Now, are we on air now?
Yeah, we're on air.
Art Bell used every evening to attack me.
He attacked you?
Yes.
Oh.
How Zahi Hawass say how the Egyptian can move stones.
Oh.
That's not true. The Egyptians cannot do that. Then I was teaching at UCLA, and he called me for an interview. I said, no, I'm not going to give you an interview until you come to visit me in Egypt. And he said, okay. He came with his wife. I took him to a quarry that we are cutting stones to construct the Sphinx. Then I brought a stone, 8 tons weight. And I brought a man on the age of 70. And I told this man, cut this stone. The old man stood above the stone. Stones has weak parts like us. Mm-hmm. With a pencil, he drew a line from the beginning to the end. In the middle, he put a piece of iron. Pum, pum. He cut it for twice. I said, Art, the Egyptian doesn't use muscles. They use their brain. because the pyramid was the national project of the whole nation. If you go today, if I take you...
Like, he's correct. I mean, the only thing that I know people will pick apart about what he just said there was the fact that he used an iron tool, because the Egyptians of the Old Kingdom, that was in the Chalcolithic era, so the Copper Age. But we do have, I will say, there have been toolkits on a quarry site was found that was using arsenic hardened copper. So that changes the composition and makes copper obviously harder than it naturally is, because it's quite a soft metal. So I know that people will say something, but he's correct. And I really like that the way that he said that Egyptians didn't just use brute strength, they used their brains. That is so true. And this is something that I always try to get across, that something like a professor passed on to me, is like, the thing that frustrates me so much about this stuff is that we have this kind of collective arrogance in our modernity, that people in antiquity were stupid because they, didn't have smartphones, or they thought that the world was flat, and they believed in gods that were half human, half person, etc., etc., etc. And that is just like that could not be further from the truth, and it just makes me so mad. Yes. Oh, Luke Caverns is here. Hey, Luke, how are you doing? Yeah, discovered every grain of sand. Yes, I actually once watched a TV show, an Egyptian documentary TV show. I couldn't tell you which one, but he was going around and visiting tons of sites with a TV crew. And I distinctly remember that at the end of the TV show, it had, the first thing in the credits was everything that Zahi Hawass discovered on the show today. So, and it was like every artifact that he looked at, and he was just showing up at sites, and they had everything laid out for him to look at and point out to the TV crew. He didn't actually find any of it, but yeah, that's just kind of how things rolled.
Today with me, and I always tell people this. I give lectures maybe 3-4 times a week.
The Iron Dagger in Tutankhamun's tomb comes from a meteorite, and Tutankhamun's also from the New Kingdom, which is, I think, it'll be more than this, but it's roughly 1,000 years removed from the Old Kingdom. Very different time periods.
Week for American groups. And I tell them the following. If you stood in front of the Great Pyramid and you look at it, you will never believe that this pyramid built by human being. Why? Because you don't know. And number two, if you try to do it today, you will never be able to do it. Are you going to hire today 10,000 workmen to work for 28 years for nothing? That was the national project of the whole nation.
I mean, he's correct. Like this, I say this all the time. I agree with him. People always say, oh, well, we couldn't build it today. No. It's not that we can't. It's that we have absolutely no economic incentive to do so. You know what? Elon Musk could build a pyramid. He could hire people. He could do it. But he doesn't have the belief system, or like the only reason that he'd be building it is to prove that it could be built. Pyramids are essentially at the heart of it. Like, as much as in Egypt, they're tied to religion and the king's soul, and he is like, their god, as well as just being their ruler. It is a giant vanity project. So you have to kind of consider that in terms of, us building it and whether or not we could do that now. Like, we could do it. We just don't have like a good enough reason to do it, or a billionaire hasn't decided that he has a good enough reason to do it yet.
I think Art Bell's real concern was, how would someone possibly move those stones 4,500 years ago?
Okay.
A lot of questions, right?
Yes, but can I answer you now?
Yes, please.
Listen, 2 examples I will tell you. The first example happened a few years ago. I discovered a tomb in a site called Abu Sir. In the top of the tomb, there was a huge granite sarcophagus, 20 tons weight. Okay?
Okay.
If you come to Egypt, have you been in Egypt?
No, I haven't.
You have to. If you talk about
I
Egypt,
know I have to.
you have to.
I agree. Like, yeah, Joe Rogan says he loves Egypt, but he's never actually been there, and he's this wealthy. Like, come on. I went to Egypt when I was 20 years old and a student, and I was able to see all of these sites. I can't believe that Joe Rogan's never been.
To come.
I know,
But
I
you
do.
have to tell me before you come.
I'll come. I will tell you.
Now,
I promise.
I brought only 10 people because I called the Minister of Culture and I told him, we found an intact tomb. And the minister said, wait, I will bring the reporter, the press, and we'll do it live. I said, okay, but I hate to do anything live. Then
I mean, okay.
I came to the site, I brought my workmen, 10 workmen only moved the 20 tons only by wooden sledges. We found underneath another sarcophagus, 10 tons weight of granite. We took the third one and we found underneath a third one, 5 tons weight. We took the 5 tons out and we found underneath a coffin with the mummy. And I told the workmen, put everything back. And I called the minister, I said, you can bring the press, we'll open it live. I never told him that I cheated him, but only in a site that I'm excavating right now. We do discover 60 feet under the ground, we discover sealed sarcophagus. The lid is about 10 tons weight. 2 workmen only opened the lid for me. We have a machine called the Devil. I don't know why they called it the Devil.
Divil.
Devil.
Okay.
Why? I don't know. I asked them. They said our grandfathers called it like that. Then they
Oh,
brought
this is an ancient machine.
it is an ancient machine.
Jamie could probably pull it up.
Then
I mean, yeah, this. I mean, yeah, like he is a lover you hate him kind of guy, and he has. I mean, I will say, an ego probably as big as the Great Pyramid, but I mean, it's somewhat warranted. As I said, he was like the face. He was the person that was in charge of Egyptian archaeology for a very long time. So it's not entirely undeserved that he has that ego. Someone's talked about machines just in the chat. I'm just going to say machines to cut those stones. Like, machines is an interesting word to use. Tools. Like, when you say machines, are you talking about like something that uses an internal, like a combustion engine, or is powered by an external source? Or are you talking about like, you know, because we know that they did use water for a lot of stuff. They used water to wet the sand in front of the sledges, which actually speeds up the process of dragging them. They also, there was a Frank Burgos did an experiment cutting stone and found that when the stone was wet, things went a lot faster. So water does help, but when you say machine, what exactly do you mean? I stole so much. Only 19 likes. That's thanks, Whitney. Yeah, 53 people. That's a lot for
Then
this.
they-
Anyway,
then they
we have 2 hours. I need to stop pausing.
put this machine under the lid, and they come doing like this, and they raise the lid little bit. When the lid is raised, they put a piece of wood, another piece of wood, another,
Okay.
until there is a half a feet that I can put
Right.
my face inside with with a flashlight to see what's inside the coffin.
That's a health and safety nightmare. Jeez.
That's what because the people today are the descendants of the ancient Egyptian. There is a village located north of Luxor, and this village, all the people work in antiquities, and they know, if you look at their faces, exactly like the ancient Egyptian people, and all the people working with me. I'm excavating right now in Giza. We're going to tell you good news inside the Great Pyramid that we found, and also in Saqqara and Luxor. And this is why in my lecture tour now, I'm making major important announcement that we'll talk about it with you today.
Okay. What did you find?
Someone says he's selling his book. That's true. I mean, he's selling his books in general. It's his lecture tour. that he's selling on this. I just checked his website. He has a 2025 lecture tour that's going from May to August. So that is what he is doing on here to promote. Just saying. And yeah, I'm interested to see what he's going to say about Giza.
Now, you know, can I call you Joe?
Please do.
And you call me Zahi.
Okay.
Now, you know, I do receive fan emails.
You've received emails?
Fan
emails.
Fan
about
mail.
50 a week. Some of them bad ones. Some people think that I discovered evidence to prove that pyramids built by aliens or lost civilization, and I hide them.
No, I think what he's saying is that, like, well, he's just saying that there's continuity, that the people who built the pyramids are also the people that are now uncovering them. And I don't think he's trying to say that they used the devil to open the sarcophagi. Although maybe they did if they were robbing the tomb, because most of the pyramids are robbed.
I never answer these questions. But to you, I tell you, how can I hide anything? I'm not working alone. I'm working with people. You cannot hide anything because people will see you. And I will tell you a joke. It happened, but it's a joke. A reporter came to see me from California to my office, and my office was located next to the Great Pyramid of Kufu.
That must be a nice view. Jeez, jealous.
And he said to me, people say at 12 noon, you leave your office and you go to the bathroom and you open a tunnel from your bathroom. It's true, really, it's what he said. And you go from the tunnel to the Great Pyramid and you hide things and you come back. I said, okay, what do you need from me now? He said, I want to see your bathroom. This really happened. He went to my bathroom.
Did he check all the panels?
And he came back. I said, have you seen any tunnels in my bathroom? He said, no. I said, what are you going to do now? He said, I will publish your bathroom in the internet. And therefore, if you want to see my bathroom, write www.hawassbathroom.com.
I am looking this up right now. www.hawassbathroom.com. Actually, I have a tab open that I'm looking stuff up. So let's have a look at the tab so you guys can see what I see. Bathroom.com. Oh, no. The domain doesn't have anything anymore. It's not. Oh, you can't see it. That's weird. I don't know why Oh, I think it's a different... I have so many tabs open on my computer. It's crazy. I have the wrong tab linked. Here we go. Hawass bathroom doesn't exist anymore. Or, well, someone needs to buy it. But yeah, that doesn't exist anymore, guys. Which I'm really disappointed by because I was looking for... That would have been hilarious. Just saying. All right, let's get back to the video.
Is that much of an issue that people really believe it? That you had to make a website for it?
They do believe in this, and some of them attack me badly.
Well, that's part of the problem, right? Is that the Egyptian pyramids and just Egypt in general is so spectacular. The accomplishments of the ancient Egyptians were so monumental and so above anything that anybody had ever achieved. And since, you know, what they've done thousands and thousands of years ago still...
I mean, since? I mean, there's been some pretty great stuff that's done since then. I don't know.
This day puzzles people when they try to figure out how it was built.
I will tell you.
You will tell me how it was built?
Of course.
Okay.
I
mean, okay. I think this is the part where I'm just going to be like, okay, we'll see.
How do you know?
How do you know?
How do you know?
I found all the evidence of building the pyramid. We published a book, 1,000 pages. This book is the Bible of the pyramids of Giza Plateau.
Okay, tell me how they did it.
Now,
I mean, I don't think this is the same book because it doesn't have Zahi Hawass on it, but this is The Complete Pyramids by Mark Lenner. If you're looking for a great book on the pyramids, I bought this off of Amazon, used for £3. And it is literally a very extensive book all about pyramids all over Egypt. It's got tons of diagrams and photos, and it has a whole section at the back about building them. It talks about the entire history of pyramids because actually, we may or may not know, the pyramids didn't stop getting built after Giza. There are over 100 pyramids in Egypt. And they were being built all the way up. I mean, there were periods where they weren't being built as much and, you know, the construction methods weren't always the same. But pyramids were being built in Egypt all the way up to the 18th dynasty in the New Kingdom and King Ahmose of the 18th dynasty. So it's not Zahi's book, but I think he speaks about Mark Lenner in this interview. This is another Bible of pyramids if you're looking for a book to read. That's not by Zahi Hawass.
What we found out,
I can't believe he didn't bring his book with him to the interview to plug, like, and hold up, like I just did. Just saying. My book isn't by Zahi Hawass. My book is by a guy called Mark Lenner, who Mark Lenner is a Egyptologist who works at Giza, and he is the one who found the workers' village near the Wall of the Crow, and is doing all of the work, basically trying to find the builders of the pyramids. It's called The Complete Pyramids by Mark Lenner. I'm going to put it in the chat. The only thing I will say about this book is that it was written in, at least the edition, I don't think it's been updated. It was written and published in 1997. So it's not got the most up-to-date data. I actually would love to interview Mark Lenner. I might try and see if I could get him on the channel to have a chat. And I would ask him, one of the questions I would ask him is, are you working on an updated version of this that includes all your most recent research? That would be great. That would be an excellent book to buy and well worth the full price.
the major problem that people...
I will also say it's obviously, I bought mine really cheap secondhand and it's really good quality. So you can find it secondhand really easily.
think about pyramids because most of the information that's written on pyramids are wrong.
Most of it?
Most of it.
In archaeology books?
In archaeology books.
Really?
Except me and Mark Lenner.
This guy, see? Mark, look. Wow, this is backwards, I think. Mark Lenner. That's, oh, I realized I could, my camera must be, I didn't realize it was mirrored. But yes, this is Mark Lenner's book. So this is the only other guy that's not writing crap about the pyramids, according to Zahi Hawass. Just saying.
You guys are the only ones that have it right?
Because have been working in Giza for the last 57 years of my life. I excavated every piece of sand.
Okay, what do the archaeologists have wrong in these archaeologist books?
For example, number one, they say that the workmen who built the pyramids worked only 4 months a year. When the flood covered the whole country, the king hired the workmen to work in his pyramid. This is wrong, and I will tell you what's correct. Number two.
Okay, before he gets into it, I'm pausing way too much if I don't want this stream to go on for ages. He's gonna, so what I think have read is that the bulk of the labor, like the mass labor part of the workforce, the people hauling the stones, etc., were probably working, during the actual flood part of the year. However, that doesn't mean that the project stopped and started. There was a smaller workforce that would have been working on the pyramids year round. So this would include like stonemasons, probably an equivalent to like engineers, etc. And all the support services that you need for stuff like that, people planning it, cutting the stones, getting it all ready at the quarries, etc., etc. Because while the majority of the Egyptians at that time probably were farmers, they weren't all farmers. So there definitely was a smaller dedicated workforce that worked on the pyramids year round, or at quarries year round, probably cutting the stones and getting them ready. And then you'd have the bigger workforce coming in and doing like the bulk of the transport and the laying of the stones during that 4-month period. Let's see if he says whether or not that's or let's see whether or not that's what he says, because that's what I would think the answer to that is.
That the stones used in building the Great Pyramid came from Torah. And Torah is a 25 miles to the east from Giza. And number 3, that Kufu ruled for 23 years. And number 4...
Wait, what did he say about Torah?
The king hired the workmen to work in his pyramid. This is wrong, and I will tell you what's correct. Number 2, that the stones used in building the Great Pyramid came from Torah, and Torah is a 25 miles to the east.
So that's correct. So I think he's maybe getting mixed up, or he's generalizing a bit, but is the majority of the stones for building the pyramids were from like either the Giza plateau, like next to the pyramids. There are quarries on the site or nearby quarry sites. The limestone that came from Tura is fine white limestone that's the casing stone. It's the outer layer of the pyramid. So the bulk of it was actually probably quarried on the Giza plateau or nearby, a smaller amount came from Tura to make it look nice at the end.
From Giza. And number 3, that Kufu ruled for 23 years.
We don't know, there are estimates for how long he ruled. We don't know for sure. 23 is on the lower side of those estimates.
And number 4, that the stones of the Great Pyramid are 2,300,000 blocks.
How many blocks are there?
Now, let us talk.
Nobody knows for sure how many blocks there are inside the Great Pyramid. I mean, we have pretty good guesses based on the size of the blocks that we can see on the outside, but we don't have a way to actually accurately know exactly how much there is on the inside, especially when there's all this research going on about voids inside of it. And at least one of the voids that's been detected by muon tomography, which is cosmic rays, has been proven to exist. So if there are more voids that we haven't found yet, those are obviously places where there isn't stone. I don't really know how much of it there isn't left, but yeah.
Talk about number 1, the workmen.
The workmen.
I found the tombs of the pyramid builders.
Yep, that's true.
Only 1 mile south of the Sphinx. A major important discovery that can tell everyone, number 1, that pyramids built by Egyptians because of the names that we found inside the cemetery. And they were not slaves.
Because is that your phone?
I have to.
Yeah, kill that thing.
Kill it. You're right. I always, because I do lots of interviews, I always close it.
Oh, I get
Except today.
No worries.
Casing stones wouldn't have been a restoration project. The casing stones are like the finishing touch of the project.
Nobody knows how to shut these things off anymore.
It's not wrong about that.
This discovery.
Okay, so explain. So you found the pyramids, you found the workers' pyramids graves a mile away.
Away 1 mile south of the pyramids.
And by their names?
Then I found names of the workmen. I found the lower cemetery. The lower cemetery were for the burial of the workmen who moved the stones. And the upper cemetery was for the technicians.
Right, and how do you know this?
I will tell you.
Okay.
Now, the tombs down there are very primitive tombs, built from mud brick, cost nothing. Underneath is a skeleton. And if the skeleton is for a man, he's holding a beer jar. He wants to drink beer in the afterlife. If the skeleton is for a woman, She has a perfume vessels. She wants to have perfume in the afterlife. Inside the upper cemetery, I found 21 titles in hieroglyphic. For example, the overseer in hieroglyphic of the side of the pyramid.
Oh, it says that, the overseer of the
yeah.
side of the pyramid?
Emir
I have to check this because I'm not sure if that's actually the thing is what he's done here is he's not telling you the exact transliteration, which is what I feel like he should be doing here. So when you're translating stuff like this, we obviously what is exactly translated is different than what it actually like means to us in a modern context. So for example, I think one that I saw recently was that like the word king didn't exist, or king of Upper and Lower Egypt isn't a title that like literally is what they would have written in some periods of Egypt, or maybe not all of them. Instead, what they would have written was he was like king or ruler of the Sedge and B. And the Sedge and B are two symbols that symbolize Upper and Lower Egypt. So we have transliterated that when we're doing translations into King of Upper and Lower Egypt. I think what I suspect, and I would have to look it up, is he's transliterating by saying worker of the side of the pyramid. So, but pyramid, I would want him to clarify whether or not what it says is worker on the side of the ben or the ben, the word for pyramid, or if it's using what's it called? What is it? The pyramid's name, because every pyramid in ancient Egypt had an official name. It wasn't called the Great Pyramid. The Great Pyramid is called Khufu's Horizon, Akhet Khufu. So is this person's title overseer of the side of Akhet Khufu, or is it overseer of the side of the pyramid? And I think it'll be Akhet Khufu.
Ra Ges Mer in hieroglyphic, the overseer of the west side of the pyramid, craftsman, the one who stand in front of the harbor. All these titles had to do with building the pyramid. Inside the tombs, we found the tools that the Egyptian used to cut the stones.
What tools?
So, Googling it, it's titles mir. Okay, so it's using the word mir in the title, which is the Egyptian word that we know for pyramid. MYR or MR.
Right, and flint tools, because in the Old Kingdom there was no iron.
Are these photos of these tools available online? Can we look at them?
Yeah, I can send it to you.
Can we see them online? Are they on?
Why do you not have your book?
No, in my book.
With a bookmark to the page of the tools. Let's see. Okay. Let's look in the Mark Lenner book. I haven't done enough prep for this. Oh, this is going to be like 3 hours. It's going to be like 4 hours of me doing this. Nova pyramid building experiment. Let's see. Survey ramps. They don't have a picture. Again, this is an older book, so that would be why, of the arsenic toolkit. I think, actually, also, if you like this stream, you should also, Flint Dibble is probably going to end up doing he has done a much shorter one than me, but he did a live stream reaction to this same thing. He debated Graham Hancock on Joe Rogan last year, and he's found all the pictures that Zahi apparently references, but doesn't show in this interview. So if you want to see the pictures, check out Flint's live stream. Yeah. I'll do a Google while we're watching this next segment, and we'll see.
Giza and the pyramids. I don't know if it's online.
I'm sure it's online. Jamie will find it. So these these tools were flint and diorite. What is diorite?
Diorite, D-I-O-R-I-T-E. Diorite is more sharp stone than iron, and it came from a quarry south of Aswan.
So you feel like they used this very hard stone to cut into the
stone. And I will come back to this cutting the stones.
Okay.
But let me continue about the workmen.
Okay.
To the east of the tombs, we found an area for sorting salted fish. We found an area for the bakery, making bread. We found the workmen barracks for the workmen who moved the stones to live. We found a whole city for the technicians, for the artisans. And we discovered thousands of animal bones. Because people always say that the workmen who built the pyramid, they ate only garlic and bread and drink beer. And I thought if they do that, they will die. But now we discovered that they slaughter 11 cows and 33 goats every day.
Okay, let's just do a quick, I'll do a quick reference. So this is an article. So the an arsenical copper tools of Old Kingdom of Giza and Gut. This is paywalled. Open source publications need to become more of a thing. But this is an article that's what's archaeopress.com. That here's a photo of Old Kingdom copper metal tools found in tomb AS27, early 6th dynasty. So this is within few, like 100 years or some, roughly, could be 100 years either side of that, of the building of the Great Pyramid and at Giza. So these are the toolkits. Model blades of chisels, adzes, axes, and saws. It's not going to probably be the ones that he's talking about, but it is a toolkit. They have found multiple toolkits, so this is one of them. Anyway.
And this can feed 10,000 workmen a day. Then we believe now, and I published, that the workmen who built the pyramids were 10,000 workmen. And they worked every day, and they took 1 day off every 10 days. Joe, I want to tell you, the pyramid was a national project. The 3 millions who lived in Egypt had to build the pyramid for the king to be a god. And therefore, the households in the south and the north of Egypt participated in building the pyramid by sending workforce and food to help the king. Now we come to the second point, the stones. We discovered that all the stones of the 3 pyramids at Giza, the stones came from quarries in the site itself.
Even the
Well.
king's chamber?
No, except the granite in the king's chamber, and
where'd that come
from Aswan.
And that's 500 miles away, right?
Yes, by the flood. The flood.
And those were
It's called boats, Joe.
50 to 80 tons?
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
Yes.
I would, if I was working there, it would matter. I'm
No,
like, I gotta carry
because
what?
I showed you. Not only 50 tons. It's 20 tons. Now, what we found out.
Also, something that I've pointed out a few times in some of my pyramids videos is the people talk about the granite like, you know, they were like the whole pyramid is built out of granite. It's not. I've calculated it. Out of the rough estimates that we have for how many stones are built out of the pyramids, I think it's 2.3 million is the number that it could. Yeah, I don't have that exact off the top of my head. But the granite accounts for 0.14%. It makes up 0.14% of the total stone in the pyramids. That is, if the building project's going on over 20 years, that is plenty of time to carve and transport some granite down the Nile on a boat, because they did have boats. They used the flood to help transport things. There was a harbor near the pyramid that they took everything to, etc., and that's how they got it there.
First, how the Egyptians built the pyramid. They make on the ground a square base. Okay?
Okay.
And after that, they cut in the solid rock in the 4 sides. You know,
At some point, they would only have 3 sides because, like, if they're working through a quarry, the Frank Burgos's paper about his experiment on quarrying limestone, because he was a stonemason who went and did this experiment to see if they could actually replicate any of the methods, and they were successful. They caveated with the fact that, you know, there's lots of speculation on how things are scaled up, and also the Egyptians would have had a way more experience with cutting stones via their methods because they'd already been doing this prior to building the Great Pyramid. There's at least there's 3 other straight-sided pyramids and then step pyramids, all made of stone, that come before Giza. But yeah.
I'm going to tell you one thing.
Okay.
If you tell me that pyramids built by giants, okay? I will say, okay, come to the excavation. All the skeleton that we discover are 5 to 6 feet high. Nothing about
Who's
giants.
saying they were built by giants?
Some people say that.
Oh, okay.
Or aliens.
I've heard aliens.
Okay, the second aliens. if aliens build the pyramids, do they leave any? Do they shit sometimes?
No, they didn't use modern tools. They used a toolkit that they made that was based off of one of the toolkits that's been found in an Old Kingdom quarry. So they didn't use modern stone cutting tools.
Aren't they going to shit?
Maybe aliens don't shit.
If they don't shit, are they
Everyone
going
shits?
to leave something on the ground? On the
Right.
contrary, I give you the evidence, every evidence that I will tell you today
Of actual workers.
and what's happening. Now,
Right.
we come about building.
Yeah, because the thing is like they found all these the thing is if all of these people are living there doing all this stuff, what else are they building? Fair enough. Okay, Giza is a gigantic cemetery, but it's a cemetery of everything but the pyramids is shaft tombs and mud brick, probably covered with stone, but they won't just, are they stone mastabas? I'll look that up in a second. But the mastabas, which are largely made of mud brick, the only thing that they're really building with a lot of stone at Giza is the pyramids. Like, what else is going to, like, if the pyramids aren't being built by the Egyptians, what else are they building there?
Building the pyramid. All the stones I told you came from Giza Plateau. We found out what happened first. They cut in the solid rock.
Okay.
And they made the base of the pyramid to be 28 feet on the solid
Giza
rock.
used it.
No stones.
The mastabas at Giza use stone and mud brick, but still, they're not solidly made of stone. And certainly not enough stone or to justify the amount of workers that they would have needed, etc.
Do you get this?
Yes.
We have in Egypt 120 pyramids. We don't have only Kufu pyramid that
Right.
everyone is talking about. You have 120 pyramids. This is one of them.
Right.
But the reason that this pyramid is so accurate and strong, because Giza Plateau is the only site in Egypt of the pyramids. It's a part of the Mokattam formation. It has 3 levels. Level 1 and 2 are very bad stones. But level 3 is the top quality of the stones. That the Egyptian used this stone to build the pyramid. Then after they make the base of the pyramid to be 20 feet each of stone, we found out 1,000 feet away, we found out the quarry location. All the
So
stones,
they only had to bring the stones 1,000 feet.
only the stones that came from outside are the casing stones, and I will talk about this later, that
Okay.
came from Torah, and the granite came from Aswan.
And the casing stones with the outside smooth surface.
Exactly.
Limestone,
Came
right?
from Torah.
Okay.
Then now, when we discovered the quarry location and the base of the pyramid, we thought how they established the ramp. You know the ramp?
Right.
Yeah.
To move the stones.
Right.
We found out if the Egyptian will make the ramp from the quarry to the base, it will never happen. Because when you raise the base, you need to extend the ramp. We found out, listen to this carefully,
Okay.
that the only way to have a permanent ramp is to come to the southwest corner of the main pyramid. They built the ramp like this.
Okay.
And I excavated. And this
I wish that he would show what he's drawing. Like, it is useless for him to talk about it without giving us something to look at to know what he's illustrating.
are photos in my book, Giza and the Pyramids. I excavated from here to here. When the Egyptian construct a ramp, when they finish building the pyramid, they demolish the ramp. They cannot demolish all of it. They have to leave something in the ground.
Okay.
Do you get this?
Yes.
I excavated from here to here. I found in situ remains of the ramp.
Are there photos of this?
Of course, in my book.
Okay, let's find the photos of the equipment first.
Which book? They have found quarry ramp systems at other, like they have found ramp systems at other quarries. Zahi Hawass ramp book. Let's see. Zahi Hawass. Maybe it's this one. It's 35 pounds. Ooh, well, I'm not going to buy it today, so.
Can't find anything?
I'll show you what I was.
It's in my book.
What did you find?
Well, nothing.
Nothing?
It's
How is that not online? That doesn't even make any
Pictures of
sense.
the
It's in my book.
I will say, Zahi Hawass, a lot of his stuff, like, isn't easy to find. Like, I was doing research for the worker cemetery, and, like, literally the only decent article with, like, pictures that I could find was, like, ages old, and I couldn't find a lot of stuff on the internet. Like, that's not to say that's not published in a book somewhere, but, like, I'm not going to buy all of his books, no offense, and read all of them. I don't have time. But, yeah.
Giza and the pyramids.
Maybe
This,
look up
these are the
from,
tombs.
his
Joe,
book.
these are the tombs of the pyramid builders.
Right there.
This is the excavation.
This episode is brought to you by the farmer's dog. Dogs take a lot.
Oh, thank God I can do a skip ahead. Where's the end of this ad?
This is my discovery of everything. Every piece of
finally
sand
some
here
pictures.
tells us about the builder of the pyramid. But let me continue this. I will come to you. Then now, let us. If you go to my book, you will find out that I found here the diorite and the flint tools. Listen. Then now, I will come. The stones for building the pyramid came from the plateau. The casing came from Torah. Now we come to how many years Kufu ruled. Joe, there is.
Someone's saying it'd be more efficient to use a crane. Just because it's hard doesn't mean, like, I mean, I don't know. It's easy for you to say because you know about using cranes. I don't know.
One big discovery happened a few years ago.
Are these the tools?
Thank you for your super chat, Whitney. That's very kind of you.
No. This is tools for artists. The tools in our book, which is big diorite tools and big flint tools, big ones.
And why is this not online?
Who never put them in line? It's in my book.
Right, but I mean, wouldn't that be?
Yeah, well, I mean, he's right. The fact is, it's a way for him to sell his books. I don't have them to hand, so I can't do it. Can't verify.
Everywhere? I mean, that's such a huge archaeological discovery.
It's not. It's because it's everywhere. It's not only in the Workmen only. It's in every site. You have these tools in many sites.
Right, but why aren't these tools online? That's all I'm asking.
Ask the people online, but they are remains in my book.
Are they in a museum somewhere?
There is some in the Cairo Museum, yes.
So there should be a photograph of them in the museum.
Okay.
Yeah, no, there are some museums out there that are really good at, like British Museum, for example, very, very good at cataloging and having images of all of their finds on, not even all of them, but they're working through it. They're making an effort to put images of all their stuff online. Egypt is not nearly as good at that as that I know of, in a way that's publicly accessible to people. It might be different if you're a scholar through an institution and you have, like, your institution pays for you to have access to some of these databases. But yeah, I don't think, in my experience, it's not as easily available to find this stuff online
What would Jamie look for? But I don't know. I'm just like asking him.
Now I want to come to
What museum would have them?
Cairo Museum.
Cairo Museum would have those tools?
There's pictures, like, Augustus, I don't know when you showed up, but I have showed. I'll just briefly flip through these on. I'm not going to answer to everybody, but these are tools not from Giza, fair enough, but these are hardened arsenic tools from the 6th dynasty, the site of Abu Sir, which did have pyramids at it. It's just not Giza because, yeah, that's just not published online. This is what I could find. Anyway.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, a few years ago, a major discovery happened for the first time. It is the first time that we have written evidence about building the pyramid of Kufu.
When did this happen?
3 years ago.
He's talking about the Diary of Merer.
Really?
It's called the Wadi el-Jarf papyri.
Oh.
Do you want to know what's in this papyri?
I do.
This papyri was found in Sinai, in a port belongs to Kufu. And inside this port, there was caves. And inside the caves, found remains of boat and this big papyri. It's large, huge.
There it is.
That's it, exactly. Okay?
And what does this say?
Now,
First of all, how old is that?
4,600 years ago.
Isn't that amazing?
And
You
listen,
could find writing.
In this-
4,600. So papyrus was made with animal skin, correct?
no,
No.
but of papyrus, from the papyri.
Right. What is?
It's a reed that grows on the banks of the Nile. Joe, you love Egypt. How do you not know that?
What is?
The papyri is just like leaves.
Okay.
Now, but listen to the papyri. It is a diary of an overseer of the workmen. His name is Merer, M-E-R-E-R. Okay? Merer is saying, I am Sahaj. And
I mean, like, the thing is, someone has to buy his book and then scan it and make it publicly available online, which, like, if it's not publicly available online, like, the publisher, like, can legally take that down because of copyright. You don't have the copyright to his book. He has to give permission for those things to be published online because he owns the copyright of those images. That's why they're not online. It's not because... It's because he wants people to buy his book instead. Like, he clearly... I mean, I'm not trying to insult him. He's 77 years old. He clearly doesn't see the value of open source research and having these things openly available to people on the internet. Because I think generationally, that just wasn't done for the vast majority of his career. Things were published in books, and the internet is probably still, you know, not a... he doesn't probably see it as a credible place to publish his research.
hieroglyphic means an inspector. Under me, working 40 workmen. I was hired by Kufu to work in his pyramid. This is in hieroglyphic.
Yeah, Andrea was saying, check out
And
Flint's
he said,
thing.
my immediate boss, his name is Diddy.
Like P. Diddy?
Diddy, yes. Now,
Okay.
20 years ago, in my excavation west of the Great Pyramid of Kufu, I discovered 20 tombs.
Are these the tools?
No, this is not the tools. No. The tools are really sharp type of big tools. We found some of them.
What is
Not-
that Jamie's looking at? What are these
This could be, the tombs in the left is like them. In the left here.
those tools? Are
No,
like them?
no, more. No, down, no.
Where?
You know here there is more. To the left, to the left, to the left, to the left. No. Hey,
What?
this
painful.
two tools.
You mean up?
Down.
What are you talking?
This is giving me flashbacks to whenever my mom video chats me with an IT problem.
The second one. After this one. That's it. Up. That's it. And this one.
Oh, those.
Those.
Yeah. But don't those look exactly like the other photograph we just had? Those up there. That looks like the heads of
But
these
this was the
things.
smalls. I'm talking about big ones.
So that's...
These are tools for making statues and things like, but not cutting the stones.
Oh, I see. So these are the same kind of tools, though, with the same kind of material.
I mean, other academics and Egyptologists would go through his stuff and like say if he lied. Like you are still perfectly capable of buying his book and reading it. Everybody else is perfectly capable of doing that, and that's how the world has operated on a lot of this stuff until very recently. I think, I think it's a generational thing. I don't think it's him hiding stuff. I just think that he probably doesn't think that the internet is worth publishing this stuff on, to be perfectly honest.
But let me talk about the papyri again.
Okay.
Because many people doesn't know about this.
Okay.
Then Merer said, my boss's name is Didi. 20 years ago, I excavated west of the Great Pyramid of Kufu. I found 20 tombs, beautiful ones. I published all of them, except one small tomb I said is not important. 3 years ago, I found this is the tomb of Didi, the person
that's
that he was the
cool.
boss of Merer. And I published this tomb. You can find this tomb online now. It's called Didi's Tomb by Zahi Hawass, west of the Great Pyramid of Kufu. Now, listen, Joe, what Merer said, I took my workmen, this is in hieroglyphic. We went to Torah to cut the white fine limestone. This sentence means that the pyramid was finished, and Merer went to bring the stones for the casing. And he said, I'm not alone. There is many other gangs are cutting the stones. And Torah is in north and south. And he said, I divided my gangs to 3 gangs. One gang to cut the stones. And one gang is smoothing the stones. And smoothing the stones with the right tools to face the stones for the casing. And after that, he said, and the third group moving the stones in wooden sledges.
This is all in the papyri.
In the papyri, to a cargo boat. What happened in the Old Kingdom? We have evidence that the River Nile, the Egyptian cut to the west of this River Nile another Nile to be near the pyramid. From this Nile, they cut a canal. At the end of the canal, there is a harbor in front of every pyramid. I discovered in my excavation in front of Kufu pyramid, there is a village called Nazlet Saman. In this village, the people were building houses. Underneath the houses,
Oh, thank you for saying I'm more entertaining than Flint. I'm looking some stuff up while I'm also listening, and I also need to get through this because I have a limited amount of time here before my baby wakes up.
we found basalt walls. I stopped the construction of the houses, and I excavated the whole area. I found this is the harbor of Kufu, and I published this in an article. And I excavated in front of the Sphinx Temple, and I found the harbor of Kefren, and it's published. Now, the reason for the canal and the harbor, to bring non-local stones, granite from Aswan, alabaster from Middle Egypt, diorite from Nubia, basalt from Fayoum, white limestone from Torah. The Egyptian had everything.
So they essentially cut a second canal. They cut a canal just so they could move the stones to where they wanted them.
And I discovered all of this. And this is published. If you write Zahi Hawass,
I mean, yeah, like, well, I published this and I discovered this. It's very typical of what I know of Zahi Hawass. I mean, a lot of other people are also involved in those projects who he, I'm sure in some ways, oversaw a lot of those projects. Did he personally make a lot of those discoveries? And he was definitely involved in the project. That's not to say that he's not. But yeah, someone asked, how does an archaeologist see Hawass? Genuine and trustworthy? I mean, it's a mixed bag. Like, I personally don't know him. I know that he is qualified. He cares a lot about Egyptian archaeology. And, you know, I'm more inclined to believe that he knows what he's talking about than someone like Graham Hancock. But I think that his mannerisms put a lot of people off. And I also, I disagree with the fact that he doesn't have a lot of his research available online or accessible. And the only way that you can see a lot of the proof that he's talking about is in his books. That doesn't make it easy to verify what he's talking about. Not that it's not verifiable, it's just, it takes a lot more work.
And so this was all the casing stones.
Exactly.
Right. Is it possible that the casing stones were put on later?
So the Wadi El Jarf, this diary that he was just talking about, was actually directed by a guy called Pierre Tallet of the Paris Sorbonne University and Gregory Murard. But obviously Zahi Hawass would have overseen this because it was made in 2013. Okay, so that was after his time as minister. But yeah, those other people are the ones who were running the project, but obviously he would have been involved. There's a harbor there are artificial, they have done paleo ecological work into looking at the geology underneath Giza, and they've been able to discover that yes, there were artificial harbors that were very close to the pyramids that would have been used. And basically the really cool thing is they would have, I don't know if they probably would have been full all year, but they would have been able to use the flood of the Nile, which could, when the Nile flooded way back when, it doesn't do that anymore because of the Aswan Dam, the river level would have risen, I think, up to about 7 meters at times, which basically makes them almost like a hydraulic lift, because the Giza Plateau sits up, it's higher up than the banks of the Nile closer. But yeah, there is a harbor there.
Finished building the pyramid.
Right.
There is two important things when they finished building the pyramid.
Mm-hmm.
I discovered in a site called Abu Sir.
Casing stones went on last, but they weren't put on later.
I discovered 2 scenes.
Yeah, my overall impression of this is that he did not prepare properly, and or he is just here to sell his book and his tours. So he thinks that by saying, go look at the pictures, it's going to make everyone go buy his book instead of everybody question what he's talking about because they can't see the evidence right there and then. I think, it's very indicative of how we are as a culture and nowadays with the fact that we all have the internet in our pockets. We're used to being able to look things up and we can see that is true or not instantly. We need instant gratification and instant confirmation on everything, but that's not what Zahi Hawass does.
One scene, Workmen dragging a capstone. Above the capstone,
the Sphinx is in front of the Khafra's pyramid, so it's right beside his causeway. It's not up to the feet of the Sphinx, but it's to the end of the causeway of the Khafra's pyramid.
Is a hieroglyphic word called Jaim.
So where's this?
What is this?
This is in hieroglyphs?
Yes.
Dragging the capstone?
Yes.
Can we see this?
Find out. I don't know if it's internet or not.
What
But
would Jamie look for?
look for Zahi Hawass discovery in Abu Sir.
How much do you think was lost during the burning of the Library of Alexandria?
A lot, of course.
Everything, right?
Everything.
Yes.
And this is why what I'm telling you, I have been excavating in Giza, Joe.
This would be the perfect opportunity to talk about the Villa of the Papyri at Herculaneum. Just saying. Because he is correct. We lost so much of what we know about antiquity. Apparently there's this, I have heard that, the library was in decline. And so the idea that everything was lost in a great fire is kind of it had been in decline for years. And yes, we did lose, it's not to say that we didn't lose a lot of stuff, but it's not it put everybody back in the Dark Ages. But the Villa of the Papyri in Herculaneum, if you haven't looked it up, please look it up. I'm featuring it on Archaeology News this month because they found some really exciting stuff. They are carbonized papyrus. Are they papyrus? They're carbonized scrolls that were found in a villa at Herculaneum, which is one of the two major sites along with Pompeii that was buried by Vesuvius in 79 CE. And like they're charcoal, basically. But with advancements in 3D X-raying and artificial intelligence, we are actually starting to be able to unwrap them and read them. And this is the only intact ancient library that has survived into modern day. So like the amount of knowledge that we might be able to rediscover and books from antiquity that we might actually be able to read because that we know exist, but we don't have copies of because they've been referenced by other classical texts that have survived. It could end up being one of, if not like the most important archaeological discovery that we've made in like the 21st century as it keeps going. It's fascinating. Please look it up.
For the last 57 years, I know every piece of sand in the site. And I want to tell you one thing also.
Okay.
I am the only Egyptologist who have an open mind.
That's not true.
That I always
only
look.
one?
I always look at what the public say, and I will tell you about this later. I will tell you what I found in the pyramid. But let me finish this story, and after that I will come back to tell you how I look at what people say, and I try to investigate this.
Okay.
Then now, Mirror said,
I agree, Augustus. It is very much a lost opportunity. Like, yeah, this could have been so much better sourced.
I put
What is it? I'm going to put it in the chat.
the stones on a cargo boat,
Okay.
and we came in the boat to Giza Plateau. The workmen took the stones up to the pyramid. We slept overnight at Giza. I got up early in the morning with my workman, went to Tortora. He made many times talking about that. Then he said, I went to Sinai to bring copper and turquoise. But he said in Sinai, our big boss, his name is Ankaf. We know from text that the architect who designed the Great Pyramid, who was Khufu's cousin, his name was Hem-Eono.
Yeah, I've
Then
talked about this
actually,
guy before.
It seems now that Hem-Eono died, and Ankaf completed the Great Pyramid and built the second pyramid of his son, Khephren. Then he said, I'm working in year 27 of Khufu's reign. He mentioned that Khufu was alive in year 27.
How long do you think he reigned for?
28 years. I published an article. I published an article about, you can find this article.
Why was the age 23 years? Why was that attributed to them?
Now, this is a good question.
This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. It's important that you take care of yourself. JRE.
Egyptologist has a problem when they count the name of the king. Because when the ancient Egyptians counted the cattle, they counted the reign of the king. Sometimes they count the cattle every year. Sometimes they counted the cattle every 2 years.
Yeah,
Then
that's
we
true.
make mistakes. But now we have year
And-
20.
And we don't know, like, we don't always know if there's no way for us. It's really difficult for us to verify, are they doing it every year or every other year? That's the difficulty. We don't know exactly if they're doing it biennially or annually.
7 of Khufu's reign. And we have on the second boat bit that the Japanese are restoring now, we know when the king died, his son buried him. Then Khufu's son, his name is Jenefre, who did not respect his father, and I will tell you why. He buried his father in year 28. Then we know now for sure that Khufu ruled for 28 years. Now, Mirror said something that made me very happy. Because 25 years ago, I wrote an article to say that Memphis was not the capital of Egypt. I said that the king ruled Egypt from the pyramid. If the pyramid is in Upper Awash, the king ruled Egypt from Upper Awash. If the pyramid is in Giza, Abu Sir, Saqqara. Then Mirror said something. Many people did not believe me when I wrote this article. But Mirror said, Khufu lived in his palace at Giza. If he lived in a palace at Giza, means with the royal family, the public, and the government. And he said that the area that Kufu lived in it, in the pyramid called Ankh Kufu, in hieroglyphic, means the Kufu lives. This is the name of the city that Kufu lived in it. And Miller said, we came to Giza in an area in hieroglyphic called Ra-She. And Ra-She means literally mouth of the lake. This could be the entrance of Giza Plateau. But what's really strange, he said, it took me almost 1 day for me and my workmen to come to the pyramid. Why? Because Giza entrance was busy. Every stone coming in has to be counted. Every workman has to sign the first letter of his name. And this is why if you go today to the port of New York, it will take you 5 hours.
Khalid, you're correct. Yeah, it's his entire prerogative to write and publish his images.
To enter, because it's busy. And this is what happened at Giza Plateau. This papyri, in my opinion, is really one of the most important discovery that tells us for the first time about building the pyramid. And now we come to the reign of Kufu, 28 years, and now the stones of the Great Pyramid. I looked everywhere to find out how they counted the stones.
Okay.
That people said it's 2,300,000 blocks.
Right.
I found no evidence. It's only when the Arabs came. You know, all the theories that the New Age people say now, it came from the Arabs. When the Arabs came and they entered the pyramid, they said all these nonsense stories about the pyramids. Then I never found any place to tell me how they cut the stones. But now...
He also, one of the sultans of Egypt tried to destroy the pyramid of Menkaura, and that's why there's a huge gash in it, and he basically gave up because it was too difficult.
Now, we have evidence that the base of the pyramid is 20 feet high of solid rock, no stones. In 2010, I brought a team, scientists, from every field, and we recounted the stones based on the new evidence, and we found out that the stones of the pyramid are only no more than 1 million. And the average height of the limestone is 0.5 ton to 2.5 tons.
So the base of the pyramid is 20 feet high, carved into solid stone.
Yes.
And then the other rock...
The pyramid, which one are you talking about? Are you talking about the Great... I'm presuming they're talking about the Great Pyramid, but it would be nice to have a detail. I haven't heard of this that he's talking about.
Placed
I'm
on
gonna
top
look
of
it up.
it.
No,
Now,
I want to come to when you told me about this capstone, because we did not complete the capstone.
Right, but let's start off with this, though. The base is 20 feet high, and then the estimation was 2,300,000, but you think it's far less than that.
Because of the new discovery that we found, that the base is made of the solid rock.
So before they thought the base was individual stones.
Yes.
Okay. So now that
This is new. This is the first time I'm hearing this.
you know that the base is solid rock, that removes 1,300,000 stones that were
Yes.
necessary.
Yes.
Got it. So they carved this base knowing that they were going to put a pyramid on top of it. And what about the subterranean chambers?
Every king in Egypt is buried underneath the pyramid. Every king, except Kufu.
That's not true. Okay.
And his father.
A lot of them are buried under pyramids, but not all of them. Well, I suppose what about the Valley of the Kings? That's kind of a very broad generalist statement. Maybe he means that I suspect he probably means every king in the Old Kingdom, or every king in this dynasty. But yeah, it's not true for all of the or man-made pyramids, so to speak.
Father Senefru. The only two kings they are not buried underneath is Kufu and his father. If you look at the one chamber
We don't know where his father's buried.
underneath, it was cut and built. If you go down, it's left unfinished.
Oh, what he's talking about is the fact that all the other pyramids, I'm doing a video on the evolution of the style of Egyptian pyramid building, but all the other pyramids, you know what, I'm just going to show you. I'm going to let him talk and I'm going to show you.
Left unfinished in what way?
It was planned to cut it, but they did not complete it. You can see when you go down that the burial chamber is not finished. Why?
Why?
Because I found out in our research, every king is Horus on earth. When the king die, he become the sun god. Okay?
Okay.
Kufu, in year 5, he said, I am the sun god. And he abandoned the construction of the first burial chamber, and he built his chamber within the pyramid because he's the god.
And that's the queen.
I feel like this is more of a theory than something he's been able to verify, but since he doesn't publish his research online, it's kind of hard for me to tell. But what he's talking about here is... Oh, okay, this is a bit big, but that's fine. You can kind of see... So right here, I'm going to switch between tabs. Are plans or sections of the insides of the 2 pyramids at Giza. Khufu, which is the one we're looking at, and then Khafra, which is his son. So what he's talking about here is that Khufu's burial chamber is inside the pyramid. There's a subterranean chamber, which is... Ooh, that is bigger. I want it to be smaller. I want you to zoom out. Oh, here we go. That slightly works better. So there's this is the unfinished subterranean chamber that he's talking about, but we think that Khufu was actually buried here, which is inside the actual pyramid. But then, interestingly, when you go to his son's pyramid, which is Khafra, the burial chamber for the king is once again underneath. And it's not got all the relieving chambers, etc., etc. There's lots of different ways that you could argue why did they do it this way and then they went back to it. I'm sure that he's going to give us his theory on why he thinks that is. You know, it could be something as simple. I'm always like quite an Occam's razor kind of person when it comes to these things, where I think probably this is a way more complicated way of building something. It involves much more expensive stone and a lot more pre-planning. And you have a really long time to do that in Khufu's reign, especially if it is 28 years that I saw. He says it might be. I don't think Khafra was that long, but maybe he just didn't have as long of a time to plan his pyramid. Maybe his dad drained the resources. Maybe he didn't like the design choice. Maybe he wanted to return to the old tradition, the old way of doing it. It's hard to say. We don't have documents explaining these thought processes. It's not something that would have, I think, occurred to them to write down as to why they did this, or at least I've not read of anything as to explain that. But yeah, this is what he's talking about. All right, let's get back to the video.
Queen's chamber, correct?
No.
The first one.
I'm going to come to these chambers later.
Okay.
And the second evidence that he called his pyramid Akhet Khufu.
There's actually have been human remains found in some of the 120-ish pyramids in Egypt. The pyramid of Queen Iput, it's a IPUT, look it up. Her mummy was found intact in her pyramid. It's not contemporary with the 4th dynasty, but yeah, they have found human remains in pyramids before. They have found 1 or 2 unlooted pyramids. Obviously, most of them are because they are gigantic signs saying treasure is inside of here. But yeah, people talk about him stealing stuff. I don't know if I believe it. I think that he really cares about ancient Egypt and, you know, putting these things in museums and reclaiming them for Egypt. So I just don't know if I buy the idea that he would steal them and hide them in his house.
Means the horizon of Khufu. And the only one in the horizon is the sun god. And the third evidence is something that only occurred at Giza.
Hold up your writing pad, man.
The Sphinx and its temple. I found that the Sphinx represent Kefren, the son of Kufu, giving offering with his two paws to his father,
Okay.
the sun god, Kufu, who rises and sits in this temple, the first sun temple. And this is why Khufu's pyramid is unique among the 120 pyramids. And I will tell you what I discovered inside the pyramid now.
Okay.
Now, before I tell you about what I discovered, I have to complete the scene that I told you, that I found workmen dragging a
This is very rambling.
capstone. You remember you asked me that. We stopped on that. Above the capstone, there is a hieroglyphic word called Jaim. And Jaim means white and yellow gold. A second scene I found, ladies dancing. And they call them the Khenner. And the Khenner are the dance troupe of the king. My interpretation of these two scenes. When
Key to say this, that this is his interpretation. This does not mean that it for sure happened. This is what he thinks. You know what? He is really qualified to give that interpretation. So, you know, there's every possibility that he is right, but that does not necessarily mean that he is correct.
the pyramid
I just, like, yeah, I don't want to smell that room. That would just be disgusting. I'm really enjoying that you're responding to our chat. Well, I do my best, but thanks. I feel bad when I can't respond to everybody, especially since there's like 90 people watching, but I try.
pyramid was finished, the king asked the workmen to put the capstone in the top of the pyramid. When they put the capstone in the top of the pyramid, cased with gold, the whole country dance and sing because the king became a god. That's what I call the national project of the whole nation. The 3 millions who lived in Egypt in the time of the Old Kingdom, all of them participated in building the pyramid to make the king as a god.
This is your theory.
Not a theory.
No?
It's fact.
I just said that was my interpretation. Oh, okay. Anyway, I mean, I like his theory. I would agree with him that it makes sense to me that when they finally finish the project, they would have a party. Woohoo, it's done. I have been to, I mean, have you never been to like a work party or something like that when you've not finished a big project? Like, I can see why that would be a thing that they want to celebrate.
It is a fact. The pyramid was the national project.
No,
Joe,
that's not what I mean. I mean, it's your theory that the capstone was put on and...
it's not a
everything,
theory.
yeah.
It's based on evidence. I found the scenes.
I mean, it is a theory based on evidence. It's not proven. It's not 100. I mean, you can have different interpretations of the evidence. I don't know.
Papyri.
No, the papyri is something else.
What is-
I'm
where are the
talking,
scenes?
it's blocks.
Blocks?
Limestone blocks. One scene, workmen dragging a capstone with the word Jaim.
Is this written in limestone blocks? Is that what you're saying?
No, it show the workmen dragging a stone
Shows it where?
It's carved on limestone.
in the stone that I discovered.
So it's carved into the stone.
Exactly.
From what site is what he needs to be asking.
And the word Jaim in hieroglyphic above that.
Where is that at?
It's an Abu Sir. I found it.
But are there photographs online?
Yes, in my book. I don't go online.
Oh man, I think Joe Rogan must be getting so annoyed that every single time. I mean, I'm getting annoyed that every single time that he asks for physical evidence, he's like, "It's in my book."
Why I have to go online? I go to my book.
Oh, no, I understand. But for everybody else that
I
doesn't
think
have immediate
you should-
access to
you
your
should really,
I think one of Zahi Hawass's grandkids needs to sit down with him and explain why it's important to put some of this stuff online nowadays.
you find them online? It's called the Abu Sir blocks. Abu Sir. A, B as in boy.
How
O,
do you think they got the stones from the king's chamber 500 miles away and put them 120 feet up in the
He just boats and ramps, man.
ceiling?
I told you, if you come today and see how the workmen move 20 tons of granite, you will understand.
Workers today.
Yes, today, like yesterday, the
Right.
same workmen. Okay.
Right, but
No, Joe,
we're
Joe,
dealing
listen,
with a different
listen,
time,
listen.
correct? If they're doing it today,
if
they
you
have
don't-
access to
if you-
modern machinery,
If you don't,
right?
no.
They don't?
No, it's everything based on the idea of the national project. They want to make this for the king.
I understand the
Okay,
national
now-
project,
now-
but what I
now,
don't
Joe,
understand is
if-
the physics involved
Okay,
in moving.
if you don't,
To be fair, I mean, as much as Joe Rogan should be more well read on this topic if he loves Egypt as much as he claims he does, like, I appreciate the fact that he is calling Zahi Hawass out on this stuff, because Zahi Hawass doesn't often get called out on this kind of stuff, because for a long time, as I said, if you crossed him, it was career suicide. You know, by putting this out there, it's entirely possible. Not that I've ever had, like, I've never dug in Egypt. I would love to, but, you know, by putting this video out, if someone sees it and decides that they don't like what I'm saying on it, it's entirely possible that I'd never get to go again to Egypt or like do anything with it with the YouTube channel, which would be cool, maybe something for the future, etc. But yeah, so it is nice to kind of see him being challenged by somebody who's keeping it respectful.
80-ton blocks,
okay.
500 miles through the mountains.
if you don't believe on this,
It's not that I don't believe.
I want
just
to
want to know.
inside this
Hold
block,
on.
inside.
Hold on.
Okay,
It's not that I don't believe. I want you to explain to me how you think they did it.
I explained to you.
From
How-
500 miles away,
From-
50 to 80-ton
Okay,
blocks.
this comes through the Nile. You can bring all the stones.
Right, but
You-
the quarries were in the mountains, right?
No, the quarries, the granite quarries in Aswan, and we have cutting of the obelisks and cutting of the stones
Right.
and cut of everything in the site. And they brought, when the flood comes in July, they bring boats through the flood. They bring us out of the stones to Giza Plateau.
They planned things for the floods, and then they would figure out some sort of a raft system to get them on.
Raft system. They had boats. There is literally a boat buried beside the Great Pyramid. Oh my god. I mean, it's a different boat. It is not a boat that would have been used for transporting blocks. It's a solar bark. It is a quote-unquote ritual boat, probably. But, like, I just don't understand why it's so hard for Joe Rogan to believe in boats. I don't get it. Like, the Nile was the highway of ancient Egypt. It was their main, like, mode of transport because the current flows one way all the time and the winds go the other way the whole time. It is the perfect transport system in antiquity. Like, doesn't really cost you anything besides the fact that you could build a boat, which they built some of them out of wood and some of them out of reeds, like papyrus. Just like, ugh.
on and then move them that way.
Now, if we now do not believe that this cannot be moved by human being, okay? But on the other side, what I can tell you, inside, above these blocks, written the names of the gangs who built the pyramid, above the king's chamber. One of the names, friends of Kufu. I did a 3D few months ago, and we recorded in the 5 chambers that has these huge blocks. We found 2 more names.
Okay, the Keek's chamber is 43 meters high in the air. That means it's 141 feet. I don't know, is that like...
Names of the gangs. One name called Those Who Are Connected with the Goddess Wajat. And written year 13 of Kufu's reign on the 3rd chamber. I took Mr. Beast with me 2 months ago. I took him
yeah.
and I showed him.
I've done a live stream reacting to that too, so you should definitely check it out.
How
I'm
these
gonna write that
blocks,
down.
they were written by the workmen before they moved these stones. And in the 4th room, we have the good God, another name, was year 13 of Kufu's reign. This is when they moved the stones.
So I understand what you're saying. So you're saying that they took these stones, they waited for the flood season, they got these stones on rafts, they moved them down the river, they got them to the site. How did they get them 120 feet in the air?
Ramps. He's talked about that.
You know, again, This is the most important thing. This is the national project.
Oh, I understand. It was very valuable to them. I just wondered what technology was used.
No technology.
Well, technology is tools. Technology is levers.
Okay, technology.
Whatever they had at the time was their current technology.
The huge wooden sledges.
Huge wooden sledges.
This is the only way that today we move huge stones. This is how my workmen moved 20 tons sarcophagus in a tomb.
How far did they move it?
They moved it just a few feet away. Mm-hmm. But we have scenes of how workmen move 60 tons statue. How they move with their sledges.
Right.
And they draw it.
Yes.
How could they put it onto the boat without tipping? I mean, if we've talked about the artificial harbor, I'm not saying, okay, so this is just me spitballing. This is not something that I've read in research, but to me, logically, what it would make sense for them to do is to carve, they have these artificial harbors like they do at, the thing is they find a spot in the harbor where, as we do nowadays with, building large boats and stuff, you make an artificial, you build an artificial lake in the ground, you drain the lake, and then you have the boats, you load the boats, and then you fill the lake again and the boats float, and then you navigate the boats out into the Nile. That would be how I would think they would probably do it.
I've seen those scenes.
Yeah, then we have all this type of scene that the Egyptian show that. Again, this is the national project.
Do you think they wet the ground?
The names that he's talking about is the graffiti on the inside of the relieving chambers above the King's Chamber in the Great Pyramid, which if they mention it again, I will talk about that in more detail.
Like, do you think that they did something like that to make the ground more slick so they could pull it?
Yes.
They do that, yeah.
Yeah, they used water. So there is a very famous, we actually don't have the carving anymore. We just have a drawing of the carving. It's from the tomb of Deshed. Oh, I'm not going to pronounce his name, but it's from a tomb, and it's a carving from a later period of them pulling a colossus along, and like a colossal statue, and you can see people in it pouring water in front of the sledge of the statue. So somebody then in modern day took it as an experiment, and they were trying to do the same with the sledge. I think this is what Zahi is talking about. And they wet the sand in front of the sledge, and they actually found that doing that sped up the sledge like significantly. It actually made an impact on how much faster they could move it. So it proved that, they were able to do that with water, which with the Nile was something that they had an abundant supply of.
Yes.
And then are they using sleds? Like, how do they get it?
Sledges. Wooden sledges.
Okay. And then they just
we have this
slowly but surely pulled it into position.
We have this in the tombs, wooden sledges.
Yeah.
They have something that's called a shadoof. So it's like and someone's asking about how would you drain like an artificial lake for a boat. They had irrigation systems, and they had like a lever with a bucket for putting water into the irrigation system, so they could have used that.
Oh.
But let me take you now to what I began to reveal, the secret of...
Oh, somebody just reminded me that I can speed up YouTube, and that is 100% what I'm about to do. Playback speed. Let's do 1.25. Let's try 1.25 or 1.5, because this is... I want it to be finished in a half an hour, and we've not even made it through the first hour.
Kufu pyramid.
Okay.
As I told you again, I always listen to what people say, and I try to prove them.
We're going to do 1.5.
I was interested in the Great Pyramid most of my life, because I was the inspector of the pyramid, director of... I spent most of my life there. Mm-hmm. Then I closed this pyramid for a year to stop humidity.
To stop humidity?
Because every person...
All the breathing?
Enter inside the pyramid, gives about 20 grams of water. And this water becomes salt. Then mechanically, I removed the salt.
You had to clean the walls.
Exactly. And after that, I thought, how can...
Yeah, I mean, I remember when I went to the Valley of the Kings, and I went down a shaft into a tomb. I can't remember which one it was, but it was deep down. These places, like the Valley of the Kings, does not have ventilation, and I've never been so hot in my life because of the people that were just being ferried around and all their body heat that is just coming off this. It was disgusting.
And I make a ventilation system. of the pyramid. In the king chamber and the queen chamber, you have this tunnel, 20 by 20 centimeter only, small tunnel.
Right.
Then I thought I should clean these tunnels. Then I can make a ventilation system. I had no idea of what I'm going to find out.
What'd you find out?
Then I hired a German robot. And we took the German robot to the king chamber. We are sitting in the king chamber with a TV screen, and the robot entered in the shaft.
I'm actually I would like to know if they're going to try any of this stuff or what they're doing with drones around the Great Pyramid. Like, these robots are, from quite a ways back that I think he's talking about. But, drone technology is so advanced now. I'd be really interested to know what they might be thinking about doing with drones at the Great Pyramid.
We found out that the interior... of the
I've
pyramid,
switched it back to 1.25.
the stones were
If it's
interplaned.
still bad, let me know and I'll put it back to 1.
And that's why when the Arabs came to Egypt, and they said man first time and time first pyramids, then we found out that this shaft went outside. Then we put a fan here, and the fan suck the air and push it in the tunnel, and we made a ventilation system in the pyramid.
Pretty good.
So this
Then-
discovery of these stones, what was unusual about the way they were placed?
What?
That you said they interlocked?
Interblocked.
Interblocked?
Yes,
What
like
do you
this.
mean by that? Oh, like fingers. Okay. So there's like different levels and they all slid in together?
How they put the stones with each other.
Okay.
But now the most important, then I took the robot to the second chamber. Now we know that the tunnel in the first chamber are open outside.
Okay. I'll put it back to 1.
Open outside.
But
Right.
that's why we have these tunnels in the second chamber. They call it wrongly the queen chamber.
Right.
I mean, I went to Egypt when I was a student. A very, well, I wouldn't say poor. To be fair, the airfare is probably the most expensive part of that. But I did a tour with my friends for about a week or longer, and I can't. Did I pay for that myself? I did have a job, but my parents are middle class, so I was going to Jordan on a dig, and then we decided, well, we're here, so we might as well go to Egypt after. I'm pretty sure I paid for it myself. Which that probably makes me sound really rich, which I'm not. But I was able to do it when I was a student, and my friend who did it, he was taking very much advantage of all of the included breakfasts in our tour and stashing it all away. It is doable.
Then we took the robot to the northern tunnel of the queen chamber. After 60 feet, the robot stopped because the tunnel was bending to the left, and the German robot could not bend. Then we took the robot to the south tunnel. The robot went for 200 feet, stopped in front of a door with 2 copper handles.
I remember watching a documentary about that.
That was the first discovery. Now, I began to think, how can I find out?
I can't remember who paid them. My parents are not loaded. Trust me. My parents are, well, probably I would say the average boomer. I love you, Mom, if you're watching.
What's behind this door?
My parents were helping me pay to go dig in Jordan, but I don't think that they paid for the tour after. I think that was me.
In 2002,
I've been working part-time jobs since I was 16. That's the last I'm going to say about this.
I was chosen by the National Geographic as explorer in residence. We're 9 explorers. With us was Bill Billard, who found Titanic. Each explorer had a dream. I told them, I need you to design a robot for me. I want to find out what's behind this door. And they did make a robot, and they called it Pyramid Rover. We took the Pyramid Rover, and the robot went in the south tunnel, and the robot had a drilling on his hand. The robot opened one hole, 1 centimeter and 1 millimeter, and sent an optic camera through this hole. we found after 21 centimeter of this door, a second one. And the second one has an eggy shaped like that, as if it's hiding something. Then after that, we went to the northern tunnel that was bending. We found out it's bending north and south for 24 feet. And the reason for the bending was to avoid the Grand Gallery. At 200 feet, the robot stopped in front of a third door with two copper handles in the same distance of this one.
And these doors are very small, right?
Very small, 20 by 20 centimeters.
Okay.
Now, I spent most of my life from 2002 until 2024, last year. I found a team from England, and we worked last year for 3 seasons. Number one, I found out above the King Chamber, a big void. I'm sorry.
He didn't find that. That was the muon tomography. That's a completely different thing. Which, interestingly, when they first published... So, this is going to take up... it's fine. I'll just do as much of it as I can. So, muon tomography uses cosmic rays, and it's a way of trying to effectively, to dumb it down, X-ray the pyramid to look for voids, these extra spaces of chambers that we haven't found yet. And there are 3 teams using 3 different, but I think it's complementary pieces of technology within the Great Pyramid, and they all have found corresponding things. And when they first published this stuff, Zahi Hawass and the Egyptian people were like, "Oh no, that's not real. That's not real." But then there's 2 voids that they found. One is just above the entrance. The other one's above the Great Gallery. The one above the entrance, they've actually been able to verify that it does exist because they were able to insert an endoscopic camera in a crack and they were able to see it. They haven't been able yet to find a way to get into this void above the Grand Gallery to verify if it does exist or not, which I suspect is what he's probably going to... Maybe he's going to say that they have found it. That would be really exciting if they have found a way. But it's difficult because, you're not really supposed to damage or do anything. Like, I'm sure he had to go through a lot of red tape to be able to drill a tiny little hole in a door in an air shaft. So trying to find their way up to a void above the Grand Gallery is, that's going to be a task. And unfortunately, we're not allowed to look for these things with dynamite anymore, which is what the first explorers did when they went inside the pyramids.
Above the Grand Gallery.
Right.
This void, the size of 2 trucks. Now, the second void, behind the northern tunnel, another small void. Inside this void, we can see hieroglyphic inscriptions.
Really? So those are the only hieroglyphics on the Great Pyramid, right?
And I can show you the footage in
They're
my...
not...
Do you have the footage here?
If you can
There's a graffiti above the relieving chamber.
come to my lecture
Oh, come
in
on,
Houston,
man. Well, what about right here, right now?
I can send it to you
Where do you have it? Do you have it on you?
in my computer.
Where's your computer?
That's
No, not a lot of history is covered up. A lot of history is ignored or belittled by people because it's not clickbaity enough. I don't think it's covered up.
biggest.
Oh, well, fuck.
But I can send it to you before
Yeah,
you
but I want to show it on the show.
show it in the show. I can
Like
send
this
it to you
show.
tomorrow.
Okay. You can send it tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay, we'll splice it in, folks.
Then tomorrow I will
Okay.
send it to you.
Please do. Okay, I'll
Now.
give you my email.
Now.
I'll give you Jamie's email.
Yeah, give me. But you should come and. Can you come and introduce me here in Houston?
Excuse me? Can I introduce you in Houston? No, I cannot.
Why?
Because I'm very busy.
Okay, fine.
If I had known in advance, I could.
Oh, fine.
Yeah.
Fine.
Unfortunately, I don't have any free time, Zahi.
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 Not Zawi.
Zahi.
Then now,
Mr. Hawass.
Then now, what we are going to do?
So this is the only pyramid, can I ask you, though? This hieroglyphics inside this chamber that you've discovered. These are the only hieroglyphics in the Great Pyramid. Is that correct?
No, there is in the 5 chambers. I told you.
Oh, in
Okay,
the
yeah.
other chambers.
I told you in the 5 chambers. Now we have 5 names of the gangs who built the pyramids, and we have
These
years.
are all recent discoveries.
Yes.
No.
Within how long?
Okay, so the muon tomography space behind the chamber, or the entrance, etc., that is relatively recent. That's within like the last 5 years, I think. Yeah, it'll be within the last 5 years. The graffiti and the hieroglyphics above inside the relieving chambers, which are above the king's burial chamber, were found in 1837. It was not recent.
This voids as last year, 2024. The hieroglyphic discovery or 3 months ago.
So all this is
So that's not been published yet. I haven't heard anything about that, and I would have if they'd had published a press release on it yet. So that's going to be probably coming out in a few months.
isn't that
But listen,
fascinating that you've been studying the pyramids for so long and you're still finding
but
things?
listen to me what I'm going to do.
What are you going to do?
There is a friend of mine. His name is Leslie Greif. Leslie is from Hollywood. He did with me many live TV shows, and he did with me Chasing Mummies. And Leslie now,
I actually worked with somebody when I worked in Canada who was one of the people that was featured on Chasing Mummies with Zahi Hawass, which was like his attempt at doing a reality TV show. It is so bad. And that guy had he had some stories about his time working on the show, which is, it was curated TV made for entertainment purposes, not for archaeological purposes. That's
is
all I'll say about
working
that.
to find a network. To come, we need to do this program live.
Okay.
I want to show.
He could just stream it. I mean, might be a bit difficult to do inside the Great Pyramid. I don't think that it's going to be very good for Wi-Fi signal, but come on, that's not going to be hard.
The whole world, what I discovered inside the pyramid, that we are not hiding anything. I want to show them the hieroglyphic.
Why do you always feel like you're in battle with people?
Because
but
because
I
they
don't-
attack me. Go to
Okay, I
go,
understand
go
that
in the,
people- I
I'm not in a
understand
battle
that-
with
I
people. They are
understand.
in the battle with me.
I understand that. But I'm giving you an opportunity to just lay things out. You don't have to argue with people that aren't here. You
I'm
know?
not arguing.
Fuck those people.
I'm not arguing. I'm
You know what I'm
just
saying?
telling the people.
I'm just fascinated by the discovery itself.
Okay, then
so
now-
what does it look like? These hieroglyphs? I know you can
No,
read hieroglyphs,
it's
right?
just signs.
You can read that stuff. Right?
Yes, but we can. The signs are not clear.
It's not clear.
No, we need to do more investigation in September.
Is it a difficulty in seeing inside there? Because it's
because
dark.
when the Egyptian
I mean, flashlights?
write inside the 5 chambers, for example, they don't write hieroglyphic. They write a cursive hieroglyphic. It's called hieratic. And this hieratic, Joe, it's very difficult to read from outside.
What does that look like?
It's cursive of the hieroglyphic.
Let me see what that looks like, Jamie. That's fascinating. That's
No,
what-
this is hieroglyphic.
This is hieroglyphic. That's
We
hieratic.
need to talk about
But
hieratic.
on the right-hand side, it says
And
hieratic.
exactly. Look at the one on the right, this hieratic.
Okay.
Then it's very
God,
difficult.
that's so beautiful.
Yeah.
What a beautiful language. Like the way it's written, it looks like art.
Then, Joe, what we're going to do before the end of this year, we are going to show what's inside this void's life.
Can you keep that up, Jamie? These symbols that look like make that larger, please. These symbols to the far left, where right below Jamie's cursor, right there. Like, what are those supposed to be?
They are signs.
But what does it mean?
Look, this.
It looks like a device
the
or
one,
something.
the one down means
I
sish
mean,
for a determinative of a scribe.
I don't read hieroglyphics. He's going to be way better at this than me. But translating hieroglyphics, being able to read hieroglyphics is not something that's super easy that you can just eyeball a lot of the time. You might be able to pick out a few signs, but you need to take time. It's not something that you can just really do a lot of the time. I mean, you can do it on demand, but to be able to do a full translation of a whole text is asking a lot.
What is the one that his cursor?
No, this is
looks like a stop sign.
It's for a scribe.
A scribe.
Yeah.
But what does it mean?
Scribe.
It
Sish.
means a scribe.
Sish.
Okay, I understand. So, and then the other one on the hieratic, that's the cursive version of
Now,
that.
I'm not that expert in hieratic
Okay.
because hieratic is very cursive.
I understand, but I think this,
But we-
this
but
is
we-
showing that, right?
I know, but if you look at the signs in the 5 chambers that I will send it to you tomorrow, it's very difficult to read, but you can see they are hieratic, cursive signs.
Got it.
But the most important that we are going to show this live.
Oh, wow. Okay, so people don't even know, and you're going to show all this stuff live.
We will do it live. But the other thing, we have another
I don't think he knows what that means. I think he's going to say that we're going to do it for the first time. I don't think he's going to do it live. But I'm happy to be wrong.
team called Scan Pyramids team.
Yeah.
They are scientists from Japan, France, and Egypt. I am the scientific director who really, if they discover something, they come to me. I have to discuss it with them. And they found, the pyramid.
Yeah.
You have the entrance that the people use now is the entrance that the Arabs opened.
That's in the north face, correct?
Exactly. Above that is the main chamber.
Okay.
The team are using a very sophisticated techniques like ultrasound, infrared. With these techniques, you do not need any more to drill. You can really see what's behind the door. And this is really what I'm using right now. Then they came to me and they said, behind the main entrance of the pyramid, there is a corridor. And they showed to me this corridor clear in the 5 techniques that they're using. But they told me why I have to see it. Let's go up there. We went up there and they sent an optic camera through the stones. And they found I could look at the corridor 30 feet long, 8 feet wide, topped with chevron shape. I think you can see that in the internet, the corridor behind the main entrance of the pyramid. Can you get it? It's in the internet, I'm sure.
I missed that.
This void
Him
above the
puffing on his
Grand
pen.
Gallery,
The size of 2 trucks.
what do you think that is?
I have no idea. I'm just telling you.
I'll bet you it's a kind of similar to the relieving chamber. It's to relieve the weight on top of it, or it's to save stone. Because
What I found.
And
This was the Great Pyramid. I did more work on the 3rd pyramid with the
Right.
same techniques and the 2nd pyramid. This is the void.
Okay, that's,
you see it?
Wow, that's incredible.
And I think, and bring the other big void above the Grand Gallery. I think you will see it also.
So find the void above the Grand Gallery, Jamie.
we don't have video of that yet, so they can't have
so
a picture of it.
it's
They just have the
2
scans.
trucks,
The size of 2 trucks.
size of 2 semi-trucks. And do you have any idea, like, what the inside...
I will tell you about my theory.
Please do.
I think that it's here. That's
So
it.
that's the void.
Yeah. Now,
And it's that shape. It's
know-
in that direction, so it's at a slope.
it's above
At
the
an
Grand
angle?
Gallery. That's it.
That's it.
Yeah, the Scan Pyramid project. Now, I tell you my theory.
Please do.
We have a story written in hieroglyphic, but not at the time of Kufu. It's after Kufu. The story, it's written in a papyri. It's called Kufu and the Magician. It says that Kufu was staying in his palace, and he was very upset. He was not happy. And his son came to him, Your Majesty, why are you unhappy? He said, I'm searching for the secret of the god Thoth, the god of wisdom. Then I can design my burial chamber in the pyramid. Then his son told him, I know a magician. His name is Jidi. He knows how to cut the head of a man off and put it back. And he knows the secret of the god Thoth, the god of wisdom.
He knows how to cut the head of a man off and put it back, but is the guy still alive? Is that what he's saying?
No, this is what the son
Right.
is telling his father,
I understand that.
that Jedi can do that.
A lot of people can cut a guy's head off. And
But
put it
listen
back.
to the story. This is the story.
Okay.
Then the king told his son, bring this
Magician.
to me.
Okay.
They describe him as 100 years old, that he drink 1,000 beer, blah, 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 blah.
Oh.
Jedi came in front of the king.
What he's talking
And
about
Kufu
is
told him.
what he's talking about is the Westcar Papyrus.
I heard that you can cut the head of a man off. He said, yes, your majesty. He said, do it. He said, Jedi said, I cannot do it to a human being. He said, okay, I will bring you a prisoner. Jedi said, a prisoner is a human being. Then he brought him a goose. He took the head of the goose up in front of everyone. And the head came back, and the goose was running in front of everyone. That's written in the story. Then
Do you
the
believe
king,
that?
I come back to what's believed that now.
Okay.
And the king told him, I want to know the secret of the god Thoth to design my burial chamber. He told him that this secret will not be in your hand. It will be in the hand of another people who will rule Egypt. Kufu was very upset.
So he wouldn't give him the secret because that secret won't just be in your hands. It'll get into other people's hands.
Then
and it's dangerous.
the king was unhappy. He told them, don't worry, your majesty, because you will rule, and your sons and your grandson. Now, about magic.
Yeah.
Do you believe in religion or not?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know about Judaism?
Sure. A little
When
bit.
God told Moses, when Moses met God, and God told him to go to Egypt to meet the Pharaoh.
Right.
And God told him, remember, the pharaohs are highly in magic.
Right.
They will beat you. Then God taught Moses how to be more in magic than the pharaoh. And you remember, when he heard the stick, and the stick became a snake, I think, and Moses brought more snakes to swollen what the pharaoh did. Then we know from books, from Judaism, from the beginning, that the ancient Egyptians were really highly in magic. Then we can believe.
Do you think that magic might have had something to do with how they constructed the pyramids?
Okay, this is just getting wow. Okay. Magic. Okay, this is going on a bit of a tangent. The Westcar Papyrus, which I think is what he's talking about, is the things that he's connecting here don't really make sense to me. But it is roughly dated to the Hyksos period, so that's the second intermediate period. So again, roughly 1,000 years after that of Kufu. So it's taking something like that literally is, I think, a bit of a stretch. Yeah.
No.
No.
You don't. But if you believe that they had enough magic to take a goose's head and put it back on, it's still alive. That's magic.
Yeah.
Wouldn't they use that magic for other things?
But we have.
But if you believe in magic,
The thing is like Egyptian magic and magicianry and stuff like that is like very different to what we think of as magic as well. Because like, you know, it's a lot more connected to religion. It's a lot more connected to medicine, etc. Like it's not as like clearly defined as like mystical forces as it is in modern day. Like it's just not the same.
I do, of course.
you do believe in magic.
Yeah.
So you believe that someone could take someone's head off, put it back
This
on.
it's written.
Okay, then it must be true.
Yeah.
No.
All right.
No. No, must be true. I disagree.
Yeah. What is this? Someone's gonna kill a dove?
It's a magic trick. You can decapitate birds and stuff.
Oh.
And Put
Okay.
it back together. I was just reading it. Apparently, in the trick that he did it, he put the
Kufu. When anyone who changed the religious belief, they hit him. Hatshepsut, when she became a pharaoh, they hated her.
I don't think that's true.
They destroyed her monuments.
He says they. So I was actually reading about this the other day. For a long time, people thought that Hatshepsut's co-regnal ruler the co-ruler / stepson, Tutmosis III, when she died, was really mad about the fact that she made herself king after becoming his regent, and hated her and destroyed all of her monuments and defaced it and took credit for all of her achievements, etc. It's now the popular theory is that actually this was being done by his son, Amenhotep II, who had a slightly shaky claim to the throne and was trying to legitimize himself. And for whatever reason didn't have, and also probably didn't have a direct connection to Hatshepsut, maybe not would have known her during her lifetime. I'm not quite sure on the dates for if he was alive when she was alive, but yeah, the evidence is that any destruction of Hatshepsut's name comes towards the end of Tutmosis III's reign, where he's co-ruling with his son Amenhotep II. So people think that actually it's responsibility of his son. And I don't know if it's directly because he hated her, because he didn't know her. That doesn't really make sense to me.
Kufu, when he changed his cult to be a sun god, in the first intermediate period, they destroyed his monuments, the temples, the statues. The only statue of that king was found in Upper Egypt, not at Giza. Even in the temple of his sons, there was 23 statues. They smashed the statues. A smashing was a sign of revenge. Now,
Yeah.
do you have any question about Khufu pyramid before I switch to the Sphinx?
Well, I'm fascinated by a lot of aspects of Khufu's pyramid. Well, one of the big ones that's come up very recently that I'm sure you're aware of.
Yeah, I saw the
is,
thing about lead and gold.
These satellite radar.
Oh
is it
my
called
God.
What is it called? Tomographic? Where they
Synthetic
think that
aperture
there's
radar
these pillars
tomography.
underneath the structure.
Okay.
So,
I
let's not talk-
investigated
Oh my
this.
God.
First of all,
So I have a whole video on my channel about debunking, well, not necessarily debunking, but about going through this new discovery and looking at what's actually been published, what's in the process of a patent information, what's the history behind the people who are making these claims, can we consider it legitimate, and what kind of evidence I would expect them to present if they want me to take it seriously. So you should definitely watch that video.
these two scholars from Italy, they have never been in Egypt.
Yeah.
They have never worked in the pyramids before.
Yeah.
Right. But
Number-
they're using satellite
Listen,
information.
number
though.
2, they published their article in a journal. This journal do not send their article to the freeze. You pay a fee to publish the article. In your
No, that's incorrect. There is peer review of that article. You can see the peer review on it online when you read it. It is open access. But he is correct about, like, you can pay to publish articles. I don't know about this specific journal in particular, but, like, it was sent for peer review, but it wasn't peer reviewed by archaeologists. It was peer reviewed by engineers who were looking at the technology, not at the interpretation of the data that they made at the end. Will say, though, that the peer review people did think that the claims were pretty wild and that the technology itself was unproven.
responsibility.
Okay.
Number 3, I am not a scientist. I took these techniques that they used and I gave it to expertise.
The satellite stuff it's really hard to definitively debunk it is difficult because nobody else has access to the software program and the technique that they used because it is only in the hands of the people that created it and they have not shared it with anybody else. So nobody's been able to independently verify if it works. And none of the examples or other places that they claim they have used it on are comparable to what they're claiming to do at Giza with it.
And they said, these techniques
They have to publish this stuff or patent it or release it so that people can independently verify that it works.
cannot show underneath a solid rock of almost 600 feet down. No way.
Why can't they?
They said this technique cannot show that.
But these scientists are saying they can. Do you know about the Osiris shaft? How they've got a
I
scanned?
discovered it.
You did, right?
Yes.
But do you know that they use this tomographic
No,
radar? And
no, I am the one who found it. This is not.
No, I understand you found it. But they also discovered it. They showed that it exists using the same technique.
No,
Jamie,
no.
pull up that thing.
This is wrong. This is not true at all. I can
Hold
tell you
on,
how
Jamie,
I found
I'll
that.
tell you.
How can I find the Osiris
I'm not
shaft?
saying that you didn't find it. It's under the paper Signature Aperture Radar Doppler Tomography by Filippo Bondi. And if you scroll down, Jamie, you'll see an image. And this image is of the Osiris shaft, which shows that they got an accurate depiction of that from space.
That's not true.
From satellite. It's not true.
No.
So what are you saying, that they're lying? So
They're
this
lying.
right here.
They're completely lying.
But if they're showing, using these techniques, things that we know that you discovered that absolutely exist.
Now, these techniques, as I told you,
Mm-hmm.
scientists.
The great problem with all this SAR stuff is that they're quote unquote testing it on stuff that they already know is there. It is very easy for them to see in the data what they want to see when they already know what they're looking for. They need to blind test it on a site and then go and see if what they've interpreted as a thing is a thing, if it's there, if it's actually there with a trench. And they need to do it somewhere where they can actually dig, not Giza. You're not going to get permission to do that. It is unrealistic. It's ridiculous.
Said that these techniques cannot show 600 feet under the pyramid. The Osiris shaft that I found was only 50 feet
Right, but
under
it's
the ground.
showing, at least for 50 feet, that this is accurate. What makes you believe those scientists rather than these guys from Italy?
Because because the scientists are scientists.
Well, these are scientists as well.
They are not showing their techniques carefully. They have not.
What do you mean they're not?
They're scientists that also publish books about how they believe aliens and demons are real and are inhabiting our bodies and all that kind of stuff. Like,
Not showing their techniques carefully.
Take the techniques that they said and show it to any scientist. No one can tell you this is accurate.
yeah.
I ask it every person who knows about radar, ultrasound, all the people work with me. The Scan Pyramid project, they said this is bullshit. It cannot happen at all. Now, tell me.
So you're telling me that these scientists that are proclaiming the capabilities of these satellite tomography devices that are saying that they can see kilometers into the ground.
They're not using a new device. They're using open source data, and they have written a software program for interpreting that data. Okay? And then they use AI to take their interpretation and make it into models. Like, they haven't made an actual new piece of technology. They've done a new way of interpreting data from an existing piece of technology.
With this stuff.
That's not true. I did.
Are you sure?
I did.
And yes, as Archaeologist points out, when you read the paper that they did on the Great Pyramid from 2022, they say in like the first paragraph that the pyramid is made out of mostly granite, which is incorrect. It is, as I said, it is 0.14% of it is granite, which is something that really matters when you're trying to do remote sensing. The composition of what you think you're sensing matters. So if they've gotten that wrong, what else have they gotten wrong? They clearly don't know anything about the Great Pyramid if they think it's made entirely of granite.
Do you understand the technology?
No,
You
not,
don't.
not me.
So
But
you're just listening to other people.
Scientists who are in this field.
Have you talked to these scientists that are saying that they have these discoveries?
I made a press release.
But did you talk to them?
I did not.
Why not?
Because they did not
'Cause
talk
they're-
to me. How can I find them?
Would you be willing to talk
Of
to
course
them? If I
I
can
am.
connect you to them?
Yes,
Okay,
do.
I'll connect you to them. I'm just interested.
Oh,
if
I wonder if
new
they're going on Joe
technology becomes
Rogan.
available and they figure out a way to look into the ground and you discover things, especially if they discover the Osiris shaft and it turns to actually
They
be
did not
accurate.
discover the Osiris shaft again.
Okay, you discovered it, but they used their technology to show an accurate depiction of the interior of the Osiris shaft.
Joe, the Osiris,
but
the
hold on.
Osiris shaft
Is that true?
No,
It's not.
The Osiris
The
shaft.
images that we showed,
The
is that
Osiris,
true?
the Osiris shaft is known to everyone.
Right.
It can be
But
seen by
when
everyone.
they turn their equipment on the Osiris shaft, it shows the actual interior.
Maybe, I don't know, but this
Yes.
is 50
Let's
feet.
look at it
But
again.
they're talking about 600 feet.
I understand, but if it can go 50 feet, why can't it go
Okay,
600
now
feet?
I am again.
Why does
know?
it?
Again,
Well,
I'm not
because
a
of
scientist.
physics?
Right, so why are you
I
dismissing
gave,
it, though?
I gave what
I
they
understand.
published
I
to a
understand.
scientist, and they said that's not true.
Okay,
but
but
look, listen, then
scientists
what
are
I d- what-
wrong all
okay,
the time,
fine,
particularly
fine.
ones that are biased,
Then
correct?
what I
These guys are also scientists and they're also biased. So why is it that they're not allowed to, like, how is it that he thinks that they're right and the other scientists are wrong? He's not given a, like, can I just say Joe Rogan, by the way, that you have given no reason for why we should believe those guys and why they are right and not wrong. They haven't published and peer-reviewed their work.
I did, I made a press release.
It's not patented. The patent is in the process. A patent application has been made. It is in a process. It has not been accepted for patent. That is a very important distinction. Very, very important. Just because it's in the process of being patented doesn't mean it should be treated like it is.
Okay.
Explaining my point.
Yes.
And I said,
You're not doing a very good
my
job.
work of the second pyramid, that the base of the pyramid is 28 feet of solid rock.
Right.
And there is no way that anything can be happened in the solid rock. And I
Well,
explained.
I think what they're
let
saying
me-
is it's
let me- let-
underneath the
let-
solid rock,
let me
correct?
let me finish. And I said, your techniques that you published in this magazine
Mm-hmm.
is not refereed by scientists. You just published it. And number three, the team that working in Giza with all these new techniques, they said this is wrong. They know.
The team that's working in Giza with all these techniques, what do you mean?
Remote sensing
we have the
techniques.
scan.
He's the muon tomography team, the Scan Pyramids project, people who are using remote sensing, geophysical techniques, which is what SAR would fall under. It's non-invasive techniques, so it's ways of scanning things so that you don't have to destroy them in order to learn what they're about. That's what he's talking about.
Pyramid team.
Right.
They're working.
But you understand this is different technology.
I understand, but they
Right.
know about this technology.
But have they used this
No,
technology?
they said this technology cannot work, cannot show 600 feet under the pyramid at all. This was
Like they're saying that the way that the technology is being used isn't valid and or the physics of it doesn't add up.
they said. And this is why
As remote sensing experts, I would expect them to know that.
if the Italians were confident, they could contact me. I'm the pyramid expert that anyone should.
Well, we'll make sure that happens. But listen, if the stone is 20 feet thick, the solid stone at the base, that's correct, right? And you said Osiris shaft is 50 feet. That means it can see past 20 feet, right?
But how can
So
I?
it could see through the stone and see. I
But-
mean, what
but-
they're showing
But the Osiris
repeated
shaft,
over and over again. is
Osiris
these
shaft,
images.
the Osiris shaft is open.
Right.
Is not covered to see.
I understand.
You can go and you see the Osiris shaft down.
Right.
Everyone can.
Yeah, what he's trying to talk about is the fact that they know what they're looking for. Like, that is really important. It is really easy to see if you want to see something in that data. They need to test it on a blind site.
See it.
But the interior is not open. And the interior is
But you
visible,
can see the interior.
but you can't.
You can subscribe. I don't have membership yet because I don't. Well, I'm working on it, but I don't know what people would like as perks for being members. Let me know in the live chat if you have suggestions for what would make you pay a monthly fee to be a member of my channel. You can subscribe.
Can't see it to the exact dimensions the way these tomographic images show it, right? If they're using this technology to go 50 feet under the ground
I'm
to get an
telling you,
accurate
I
depiction of
am
the
not.
Osiris
I
shaft,
am not a scientist.
I understand. So,
I
but this is my
asked
question.
all the
why would
expertise.
why would you dismiss it if you haven't looked under there?
Because you
I
can't.
told you, it is not me
Uh,
who can dismiss this.
What does it say, Jeremy?
This is the link to the original article, I believe. If there's their names. The very first sentence says that
The
due to the
problem with
poor
it?
penetrating action of electromagnetic waves inside solid bodies, the capability to observe these distributed targets is precluded. And then they had to come up with
this article is so hard to read. It is full of like really dense, like technical language.
an experimental. It says experimental results are estimated by processing the SAR images.
The grind. Well, but the thing is there, okay, somebody's saying that the granite lime, it does matter because they're assessing seismic like vibrations that come through matter. So how that matter vibrates is affected by the composition of that matter. And the composition of granite is incredibly different to limestone. So that is going to affect the vibrations and the waves that you get out of it. Like, that's just basic science.
Into something else. So I think that's...
Again, watch my video about this whole smoke show. You know what? I think I'm just going to skip past it because Zahi Hawass is not going to give me anything. He's made his argument. I'm just going to skip past this bit because I want to try and finish this video tonight, and we've only made it an hour and 15 minutes into a 2-hour video.
The disconnect I'm hearing.
Yeah, I don't understand the tech.
The two Italians. The pyramid, if it exists alone, when you come to Egypt and you go through time, you will see that everything gradually. There is no gap that you can.
What do you mean by that?
There is no gap for anyone to think something different than the belief of the Egyptians.
Well, I don't think anybody's saying that.
Oh, you
Well,
have
maybe some people are. Maybe some people do. But, I mean, it's all the Egyptians. Obviously, it was in Egypt. I mean, it's the Egyptians that made it.
Yes.
It's pretty obvious.
Okay.
That just seems obvious.
Then,
He promotes a lot of people who disagree with that.
if you believe in
Well,
that,
I'm
I'm happy. I'm happy to hear this from you.
Yeah. Well, I just think whenever people say it's aliens or like, where's the proof of that? But
Exactly.
also, they built a lot of spectacular things. Like, no ifs, ands, or buts. Just the statues, just the faces of the pharaohs with incredible symmetry.
This is why I want, since you are interested in Egypt, we would like to invite you to come to Egypt.
I want to come. It's for me. It's just I'm
we are
very
willing
busy.
to invite you.
I'm willing to go.
Okay,
Let's go.
tell me when.
Okay.
And I will arrange everything for you.
Okay, we'll hook
but,
it up.
But now I want to come to the Sphinx also.
Okay.
Can we talk about the Sphinx?
Yes, please.
Now, you know, when I was young, I was met by the Edgar Casey son,
the psychic guy.
Huron Casey.
Yeah.
And Huron Casey was the son of Edgar Casey. I was young. I really do not know what this Casey had. When he came to Egypt and talked about his father.
You know, guys, we've made it an hour and 20 minutes, and we've just started talking about the Sphinx. I'm going to have to call it here because I've been doing this for over 2 hours now, and I will have to finish this the next time I do a stream. So I'm sorry that I haven't been able to get through it all today because I just have too much to say about the commentary here. But it's almost 10:30 where I live p.m. I have a 8-month-old baby that likes to get up in the morning and is going to need to eat sometime soon. And yeah, this has been a long evening for me already. So I'm sorry. I don't want to cut it off because there's like 80 people here and it's tempting to let this go until midnight, but I need to go to bed. About case. So make sure I will finish this. I'm going to finish this I'm going to do my Tomb Raider stream as I normally do, gameplay and everything tomorrow night. Those are usually only like an hour and a half. I try not to do them into 2 hours, but I will save this for finishing the interview after my next video premiere, which will be not next week, but the week after. So if you liked today, make sure that you subscribe, hit the bell, like, share, etc., so that you can know when we're going to come back and finish this. So yeah, I will be doing a part 2. I'm not going to... maybe I will do the part 2 tomorrow on the Tomb Raider live stream. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to finish the video. We're going to come back tomorrow. We're going to finish the interview. And we're just going to have to do it in 2 parts because I just have too much to say about it. I live in the UK. I live in Scotland. So, yes. And maybe I'll see if I can find some of these stupid photos that he keeps talking about that are in all of his books. So I'm just glad that this interview wasn't 4 hours because, yeah, that would take me like weeks to get through. So, yeah. All right. I've changed my mind. We're going to skip Tomb Raider tomorrow and we're going to finish the Joe Rogan interview. We only have... I can't do math. Over 40 minutes rough. We only have like 40 minutes left. So hopefully we can do that in an hour and a half. So, yes, subscribe, like, thank you for coming along and listening to me, especially if you've been here the whole time. I appreciate that. Really sticking around. I like interacting with everyone in the comments. I hope you all have a good rest of your evening, and I will see you all tomorrow. And yeah, Flint Dibble does also have the pictures. So if you really want to see the photos that Zahi Hawass is referencing, go watch Flint Dibble's stream. He's great. Yeah.